Hey, Nick.
Hey, Chase.
It's that time again.
What time is it?
Time for
Fuck This Place!
So my mom has dementia, and she's like late stage 2 into stage 3. So like she'll like fill in the blanks if some pieces to the story are missing from her memory.
Sure.
So we had this cat, and we adopted this other dog. My parents adopted this other dog against my warnings, and they got this dog, and I'm like, you can't fucking take care of this dog. Like, what are you doing? And they were like, oh, but we need something for the other dog because she doesn't get enough exercise. So they got this other dog, and this dog's really sweet, really mellow, really laid back, super introverted, keeps to herself, loves to sleep on the couch. It's kind of a problem, but whatever. Then we find out she's got a fucking prey instinct that is just off the charts. I'm talking like if she gets near something smaller, she will lose it and just, you don't exist. You're another fucking thing, an obstacle in her way to killing this thing that she needs to kill. And so this fucking fat piece of shit Maine Coon cat that we have that just picks on every fucking animal in our house, like gets in her way and she fucking lunges at him. Cost us $3,000 to save his life.
Oh my God.
Damn.
That was the warning shot. That was the warning shot from God, the universe, aliens, karma, whatever you want to call it. And what happened next was we left it alone. My parents just fucking were like, all right, well.
So like, wait. So one incident, and they're just like, that'll never happen again.
Well, no, that's what normal people would do.
Yeah.
But my parents, they were like, okay, all right, well, let's just keep her and we'll try to fix it. But they don't do any work. They don't put any time in with the dog, and the dog just fucking remains the exact same way. And the next time the cat comes around, after he's finally healing from these holes in his neck, fucking the dog fucking attacks him.
Well, I guess we should introduce the podcast. Welcome to Fuck This Place, the podcast about jobs and dogs. With Chase and Nick. My name is Chase.
My name is Nick, and with us today, our guest, one of my oldest friends, theater actor extraordinaire, Mr. Chris Hayhurst.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, what up, Chris?
Chris, very sorry to hear about that dog and cat. You lose 2.
Very sorry to hear about that terrible weekend.
Yeah.
One bad time.
I got a cemetery out of it, so that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So yeah.
Well, I guess we should just jump straight into our first segment because we're already here. So Chris, the first segment we'd like to play on every podcast is a segment that we call Fuck This Place ? Where we decide if we would, we look at job postings and decide if we would work there or not. So we looked up some Craigslist posts from San Francisco Bay area.
You're from San Jose and Stockton, just like me, which is pretty cool. But also the San Jose Craigslist just kind of like deludes into the South Bay Craigslist. It's like what it turns out.
That's what happened.
San Jose, Cupertino, San Francisco.
Cupertino, Oakland, Alameda. Like,
what are your thoughts on San Jose, just off the cuff?
Okay. So when I grew up there, I grew up in this Hispanic ghetto, and all of my friends, their families didn't speak English, but the kids did. It was like their first generation in their family that did speak English. I grew up in this small neighborhood off of McKee and White Road, over by Toys R Us and a comic book shop. There was a middle school out there called James Lick High School, or not high school, middle school. Sorry. The football team that was associated with that school. There was so much gang violence in the area that, you know how like when like a player on a football team or a basketball team or what have you, dies in a car crash and it's a terrible tragedy and everybody's like, oh my God, let's put his number on our shoulder and we'll carry him with us through the games. Yeah. They have like 3 or 4 numbers from gang violence on their shoulder, like per season. There was this kid.
They're called the
I don't know
James
his fucking name.
They're called the James Lick Gangsters, right? That's the name of the.
I guess.
James Lick Gangbangers. My dad went to that school.
Yeah, all these like 13-year-old kids with fedoras walking around like,
Or they're like snapping their fingers and stuff.
Yeah,
like carrying cigarettes in their rolled up sleeves.
Yeah. So that was my first house. Then my mom was like, fuck this, you're entering 6th grade. We're going to get you an interdistrict transfer. We're going to use Rhonda's address so the other Bay Area address can like qualify as yours and you can just go to a better school. Did that for a year. And then we decided, fuck this place, we're out. Sold the house, moved to like a rich white Republican neighborhood. And I grew the rest of like into like halfway through high school up in that area. And that was like over by Campbell and Los Gatos, and like people had money, and I was like the poor kid. And so we stayed there till the .com bubble burst, and my parents both lost their jobs. They tried to get new ones, couldn't make it, had to sell the house, made a profit, moved to Stockton. So I had 2 tastes of San Jose. One was very ghetto and like, oh my God, you know, what kind of materials are we going to use to build our fence today? And how do we stop Chuck and his family from trying to grow crystal meth in our garage?
Sure.
And to like, oh my God, you have last year's BMW?
Right.
And so it's like, you know, it's two polar opposite worlds. I wish that I had grown up over like by the closer to the Los Gatos area or the Aptos Santa Cruz area, because those were very nice.
We really do have to get to the first game, but I want to say that me and Chris have the exact same story. Like that is exactly what happened. Me growing up, I got to same thing. There was no kids tied to things, but there was just like a lot of gang activity in my neighborhood. But and then my mom decided to get me district transfer, and I went to Cupertino for 1 year, my 6th grade year, and then from there, my dad's job moved us to Stockton. I have almost an identical trajectory.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah,
that's super nuts.
Yeah, I blame Google. Google did that to us.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that. I don't think you're the only 2 that had that through the early 2000s. Okay, yeah. So, what we're gonna do for this first segment, I'll share my screen in just a minute here, but I'm gonna read you the 3 job titles, and then we're gonna pick the one you are gonna pick the one you don't want to look at, and we'll look at the other 2. Okay. So, job title number 1 is Robot Monster LLC conducting tech product focus groups. Number 2 is Cut Down. And number 3 is Looking for Reptile Lovers. So which one do you not want to look at? Robot Monster, Cut Down, or Reptile Lovers?
Oh, that's hard.
They're all bad, so don't worry. They all suck.
I mean, like, because Robot Monster. I mean, like, come on, who doesn't want to look at that? But Cut Down. What the fuck is that?
Yeah. Well, also to visualize, like, if you're scrolling, which one are you definitely going to click on, and which one are you like, I'm not clicking on that shit.
We're getting rid of Cut Down.
We're cutting down Cut Down. That's fine. Okay, so then let's take a look at Looking for Reptile Lovers first. This is in San Jose. So the job post, again, the title is Looking for Reptile Lovers in San Jose. The job post starts, "Do you love reptiles? We are looking for animal lovers to help us with our chameleon and reptile breeding projects."
I like that the title is like Looking for Reptile Lovers. Then the first question is, do you love reptiles? Implying that there might be a guy out there that was like, oh no, I don't, but I was just here to help. It's going to help you find reptile lovers. Yeah.
I also like that they mentioned love twice, and then they start talking about breeding in the second sentence. I just really didn't think like again, looking for reptile lovers. I figured we were talking pet shop, you know, like we're gonna sell some reptiles, no big deal, and that'll be that. You know, we want you to love them in the sense that like they're just around, and we don't want you to be an asshole to them. But in this case, we are trying to breed some reptiles.
Yeah.
So there's not a ton to this post. We'll keep reading here. A unique opportunity to learn and grow in the field of exotic animal care. Very unique, I would say. Mm-hmm. An ideal candidate would have previous experience taking care of multiple chameleons or other reptiles, getting specific, but we can train you. All you need to bring is your passion. Mm-hmm. Smiley face.
Now, do you think that this is like where they're going to be open about trying to have sex with these animals? Or do you think they're going to try to like lull you into it and stuff for like a couple of weeks?
I think they said love twice. So there's a chance that they're going to come.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny is I actually have experience in this.
Do you?
Really?
I really do.
Meaning you've owned reptiles before? Or?
I have bred chameleons before.
Really?
Okay.
I have. I bred veiled chameleons.
Whoa. So I'm going to say I probably don't want this job.
Well, I'm just saying it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But bro, you can make like $80 a baby. And there's like
okay.
There we go. Okay, now you're talking.
Like, you can make like $80 a baby. And our litter had something like 20 to 30 of them in it.
Oh shit.
Okay, look, I'm truly fascinated by the ins and outs here. But here's my question. It seems to me like you did a lot of this on your own. Why do these people need help?
Are you insinuating that I had sex with?
No. What I'm saying is, it seems to me like this does not require a ton of assistance from a person.
Well, okay.
My question is, why do they need more people to do
right?
this?
Okay. So mine was just 2 chameleons breeding 1 litter.
Right.
So if they've got if they're trying to make money and this is their business, like if they've got 18 couples.
Yeah, like a professional chameleon breeding.
Yeah.
Right.
Operation.
Okay, so wait, on average, how many eggs does the chameleon have? How many babies? Let's say.
Gosh, I don't remember. See,
Just
here's the thing.
ballpark, we'll say like 4,
I was like
5?
8 or 9. I was like 8 or 9 when this happened.
You were 8 or 9 breeding.
Yeah, I did it with Barb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say you have. So like, it just sounds like this place would have to be trying to raise like a chameleon army, right? So it's like, okay, 8 to 30.
Yeah, that's a Jackson chameleon. They have horns on their
8
head.
to 30. Okay. Yeah. So it's like, so then you have what, like 20 chameleons, each laying 30 eggs each. This is about, come on, some kind of world domination at some point.
Yeah,
right?
It could be. They move really slowly.
Slow world domination.
I mean, I know that there's recently been a documentary about selling tigers, so I understand that there's like a market for stuff. But like, how big is as far as scale goes? How many there's no way there's that much of a demand for chameleons.
Okay, so it depends on what kind of chameleon too, because veiled chameleons are the most common ones that are sold as like household pets. But if you're going with like a Jackson chameleon, or there's a blue chameleon, there's a couple there's like a million different little I don't know how many fucking, not a million. I'm hyperbolic, but like certain ones will go for $325 for a baby.
Okay,
that is a lot of.
And if you ship them.
Okay. I was just about to say, how many people in San Jose? Okay, you're shipping chameleons. Okay,
I mean,
right. Fine.
Okay, there used to be in the Cow Palace in San Jose or Santa Clara area, there used to be a massive reptile fair that came by. Like thousands of people would come for this exotic reptile fair.
Like Reptile Con?
Yeah, it was like a reptile con, exactly.
People dressed up as Reptile from Mortal Kombat.
more like
people dressed up
of breeders.
People dressed up as like the gecko from Geico Gecko.
There's the only
variations
two
of Reptile from Mortal Kombat.
Only
two characters.
Yeah, I'm the MK2 Reptile. Well, I'm the MK4 Reptile. I'm gonna say for this job, I'm absolutely not gonna do it, because like I just feel like these people are weird.
Yeah.
Like
definitely. Definitely.
To just kind of be hanging out with, just like on the day to day.
I think for sure Chris is the most normal person I've ever encountered who knows a lot about breeding reptiles.
Yeah. Chris knows enough about reptiles, breeding reptiles, to get away from the people who want to talk to him about it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a blue. It's a blue chameleon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's got the taller one. Okay, I gotta go.
Yes, I mean, I just want to clarify, the compensation does say depends on experience. So again, Chris, you could actually get some juice out of this. I'm also going to say fuck this place. Again, the people are weird. I do not trust them. And I also don't want to ship reptiles. I don't want to do it.
I feel like this is definitely going to be out of their house. And their house is going to have a lot of smells and a lot of brown furniture. A lot of brown carpeting, brown wood walls. Old box TV, RCA, real old.
The VHS combo set.
Yeah. Still trying to figure out how to copy their VHS tapes onto the DVD dual thing.
You mean one of these?
No. And Chris, for those who are listening, Chris has produced exactly.
All right, reference something else.
Like whatever you had in your head. No. Whatever you had in your head for like, oh yeah, it's silver or whatever. Like that is exactly what Chris brought onto the screen. You can see it if you watch us on YouTube, but if you're listening, like, don't worry. You know exactly what he just brought in front of the camera. Chris, what do you think? Fuck this place or?
Okay, if they pay me over $25 an hour, I'll take it.
Okay. Well,
you back into the breeding ring, yeah.
But anything less than $25 an hour, fuck this place.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, you have your terms and you have the skills, so I can't fight you on that one. Okay, so our next post is Robot Monster LLC. What a name! Conducting tech products focus groups in San Francisco proper, so they say. And then they immediately, first sentence, they just say Robot Monster LLC is conducting home tech product studies. Okay. Then it says, for individuals or pairs, we'll be conducting the studies in our studio. Don't like the word studio for some reason. Why can't you say office? Paying individuals $100 for approximately 2 hours of your time. Participants will not have interaction with any other participants. All our technicians will be dressed in full personal protective equipment, masks, gloves, goggles, booties, etc., to ensure your safety. That's paragraph 1. Any thoughts just before we press on here? I'm a little worried.
They're looking for pairs, and they're looking for 2 hours of your time.
Yeah.
And it feels real. I feel like I'm going to walk in there and then like, it'll be an all white room and then gas will come through the vents and then I will just go out like that. I feel like
I was going to say, this sounds pretty par for the course for Craigslist.
Yeah.
It does feel. I will say that it's interesting. I understand that probably this last sort of section of this paragraph, participants not have interaction with other guests, we're going to wear PPE, is very COVID proactive. Like they're like, we're not going to put you at risk. Yeah. I just wish they had said that instead of just announcing that everyone's going to be in like a hazmat suit and that you can't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, for home studies. Didn't know you could do that. We're looking for groups of 4 to 6 individuals and paying the household of a total of $900 to $1,100, depending on the amount of individuals in your household participating. It just seems like you're breaking rules right away, but I don't know. For approximately 3 hours of your time is for that $900 to $1,100 for the family rate. Our technicians will arrive at your home fully dressed in personal protective equipment, masks, gloves, goggles, booties, etc., with the tech devices, very ambiguous, and your home as the natural environment. In order to qualify for the home study, you will need to have at least 3 rooms in your home, i.e. bedroom, living room, kitchen. I mean, okay, so this next paragraph is important, so we're just going to have to read this because it really frames what's going on. For both
Don't want to come to us? We'll bring monsters to you.
For both studies, we are looking for enthusiastic individuals to perform general movements. Waving with your left hand, walking across the room, slowly turning your head in a circle, pretending to have a video call with a friend, sitting in a chair, dancing for 30 seconds, wiggling your arms like an octopus, and other general movements in front of the technology device while being recorded. The data is collected solely for the purpose of development and software engineering and will not be used for any purpose.
What? Like they just want to have it? Okay, like so this all sounds like the movements they're asking for, like this would sound in the way of they're trying to see how good the vision on a Tyrannosaurus Rex is. Yes. Like they're saying, how much can we get away with putting you in a room with this monster that has bad vision?
Yeah, it really does feel like maybe there is a likelihood that these people are completely innocent of trapping you to do something awful, but they just don't have like a PR department or something. Somebody. This is just an engineer who's writing this.
They don't have anyone on their team that has a girlfriend.
Yes.
Or arms.
Or arms. Yeah. Why can't they do this? Yeah. What? Yeah. What? Yeah. That very valid point that they can't wave at a camera.
We need you to wave
because
we need you to wiggle like an octopus.
We need you to wave. You've seen waving. You know what we're asking for.
It will not be used for any purpose.
That's why it's like we all know, like we if I were trying to be nice to you and I was reading this sentence, data is collected solely for the purpose of development and software engineering and will not be used for any purpose, I'd be like, oh, I see. What you mean is, that you're only going to use it for this software thing. But like, you don't want to say there's like a privacy agreement or anything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's only a few more sentences here. If you're interested, please fill out the form below to the best of your ability, and a team member will contact you as soon as possible. We can take a look at that form if we want. Then it says, kindly, Robot Monster Team. What's wrong with you?
That was okay. So these are obviously robot monsters from like beneath the surface of the earth.
Sure.
And they got almost all the way through this before they exposed themselves as the robot monsters. And now they're like, oh, stupid. You signed it, Robot Monster Team.
Yeah. Like
the only thing about this that has anything to do with monsters is their name.
Yeah.
And they actually just mean the energy drink. They don't even.
I understand that you're probably called Robot Monster. Maybe that's the name of your company, LLC. But it just seems like you could name this project something different. I'm not trying to teach people how to trap people, but like if you're trying to bait someone into a study, you could just call yourself, technological analytics or computer learning corp.
Yeah. I just think it's like weird that it's like it's scarier to me that they say that they're doing nothing with this.
Yeah.
That's the scare, because the thing is, just tell me what you're doing with it, and if I'm okay with that, I'll agree.
Yeah, because they haven't said, for instance, that like, oh, this is motion capture for a video game. That could be something extremely harmless. Or like, but this is definitely like a defense company.
Yeah, this is 100%.
Like the minimum, if it isn't actual monsters from the Monstar Space Jam team, then this is a dark.
This is like the top defense contract that our country has.
Correct. And they're learning how to just shoot people.
He's just like, I need them to wiggle their arms like a what do you call? Give me something that wiggles. Octopus? Yeah, octopus. How is that the first thing that like?
You could just say wiggle your arms.
Yeah, just wiggle your arms would be enough. But to be like, no, because they don't get it. Give me an example.
I think also maybe they want a specific kind of articulation. You know what I mean? They're like, well, don't just wiggle it. Do something. Yeah. Octopuses.
They're just trying to see how they're like. They want to see. This sounds like they're trying to find high-tech ways of spying on people in their homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
curious as to
strange. What
animal didn't make it.
Right.
Gibbon.
Don't move your legs like a lemur. What I'm finding very interesting among the thousands of things we've already found interesting is that you can do it either in a studio, their studio, which I assume is where they capture, and then the other one is they can do it in your house. And I understand they've explained that they can bring, quote unquote, the tech devices, the completely unnamed. It's a camera.
Yeah.
With other stuff for sure, but it's a camera. Why do they need so many rooms in your house? What's going on?
It's I would say for like the tech devices thing, they're like, yeah, it's a camera, and we haven't figured out what they call that like memory wiper thing from Men in Black yet, but we're bringing that thing too. This is like funny, but I also feel like this is could be super creepy.
Yeah.
You know, and I also wonder about them down the road selling this data like to the highest bidder, because the reason they're like, hey, we're not going to do anything with it, we're just going to have it until some other company goes like, hey, we're looking to see how to see inside of people's homes, we need some data. And they go, oh, we have some data from like 4 years ago, you can take it. And then you know, it's just
this is how they do things.
Yeah,
like
this is how
4 years
Facebook
later you're
found
going
out.
to see a Japanese commercial of Nick waving his arms.
And it's like for Coke. Like,
I'm just
they
like,
got a lot of money.
I'm a Japanese sensation.
I gotta go on tour.
All hollow, dead behind the eyes version of me.
Dead behind the eyes. Well, on top of this, $100 for 2 hours. You know, I understand that this is probably pretty good for a focus group. You know, it's $50 an hour if you're doing this. If you're going to their studio where they can abduct you or wipe your memory or whatever. It just seems like you guys probably make enough money to pay me more. I don't know what you're doing, but I just think you make more money than that. This isn't like we're just trying to give you a couple different sodas to try.
Yeah.
That's $25, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have all that money for all like that those 9 black vans you used to pull up to my house.
Yes. Yeah, like you're gonna see instantly, you know, how much money. Like they're gonna have an actual robot conducting the thing. Like, fuck.
Yeah. And like have a robot that like walks up to you aggressively, and some guy like puts his hand out, and the robot stops. Just, oh, okay, sorry,
sorry. I thought my house.
Yeah.
It just made me do it here.
Yeah, I'd rather do the reptile thing. I want nothing to do with this thing right now. I want nothing to do with this place.
Yeah, because at least with reptiles, you know that everything that they do to you is going to be reptile related. Yeah,
well, I at the very least, I have a point of reference. I have Chris here. I can ask him about it. This is like making it very clear that they know that no one on Earth knows about this except for them. They won't tell you anything about themselves.
At least the reptile admitted they wanted sex.
Yeah, no one's going to believe I was abducted by a team calling themselves Robot Monster.
Yeah, it's too cartoonish. Fuck this place. I know we don't typically choose, but if I did have to choose, it's a hands down. I'm walking into that reptile dungeon.
Yeah, it's a hands down. I'm going with whatever cut down was.
Yeah, fuck this place.
Yeah. What's up, everybody?
What's going on, guys?
Wanted to remind you that you can text the podcast anytime you want.
Night or day, whenever the hell you want.
It's fine. It's the number is 470-BAD-JOBS. The actual numbers are 470-223-5627. That's the number.
So yeah, anytime you want. Like I said, middle of the night, whenever. We don't got jobs right now. Whatever's going on with you is going on with us.
I mean, absolutely. Maybe you still have a job and it's like shitty. You can tell us about that. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't have a job and it was shitty before.
Maybe you're getting one of those weird like temperature forehead checks right now.
For sure.
You want to pull out your phone and just say, you know what, fuck you guys. I'm going to text 470-BAD-JOBS.
470-223-5627 is the number. That is the number. And you can also call us if you want, but I mean, whatever. It's your choice. That's the point here.
Okay, so Chris, what is the first job you ever had?
I was 15 or so, and I worked at KFC.
Hell yes.
Nice. Getting that recipe.
Yeah, dude. Trying to get it.
Trying to get it. That's why I got the job. Try to infiltrate them.
Yeah.
I would imagine at KFC, and we're going to get into this, I'm sure, but the chicken comes like, does it come pre-fried, or do they fry it there?
No, actually, they batter it there.
Oh, wow. They batter it there too.
Yeah, they batter it, and then they throw it in the fryer.
All right.
Yeah.
I would imagine KFC would. Yeah, I would imagine KFC would either be like surprisingly like good, or you'd go there and they'd be like beating chickens to death in the back. Like it'd be like crazy
it's like
bad.
all bloody by the bathroom.
Yeah. And then you're just like, you walk in and there's like some guy like just like a Leatherface style character, and then your supervisor's just like, oh, this is the new guy, this is Chris, and the guy's like waving you with his giant bloody gloved hand. Welcome to the team. Goes back, they're just snapping chicken necks.
Only it sounds like
yeah. There's the colonel's like sitting watching like Shao Kahn just in the back. Just
in every KFC.
Yeah, in every KFC. He's in all of them.
Yeah.
This is Chris is 15.
No, it's just like every other restaurant, little place you work at. It's like, you know how they have like dated wage renewals, like 2006 we were all getting paid $5.65.
Yeah,
like it was the minimum wage shit's all back there, all the little regulations and the signs and shit.
That's true. Why do they keep the old ones up for so long?
I don't know.
Because they haven't got because they get mailed the new ones all the time and they just don't put them up.
I don't know.
But that's a good point. I feel like every job I had, like it would be like 2012 and I go there and be like one from like 94. I mean, like, why is this? I always thought it was to like a subtle way of being like, look how good you have it now.
It's probably what that is. Yeah.
I used to pay him in nuggets. They were happy. They took those nuggets.
So wait, how did you, so you said you're 15. Mm-hmm. How did you get the job?
Worker's permit. And then I applied, and it was in the rich white Republican neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Nice. I guess I seemed reputable, or like that I was like really relaxed and cool, and it was like a starter job, and it was clear that it was a starter job. Mm. And he seemed, the boss, Cesario, seemed pretty open to like bringing in new kids and like training them up. Mm. But yeah, I only lasted like 2 months.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so did you get fired, or you just?
Oh, well, I just kind of.
You could talk about it. Come on.
Cesario's not going to hurt you, pal.
Okay, so anybody who's worked in the restaurant industry knows about the rush, coffee rush, and anywhere that you sell food items to a person, you get a rush in the middle of the day. So they trained me on fryer. They trained me on. Well, I had to clean the place. I was also like dishwasher, and like pan washer.
Okay, so you were back of house.
Yeah, I was back of house, and then they moved me to front of house. Uh-oh. And so in the front of house, I was on the register, and a rush came. Yeah. I was like 15. Yeah. I was scared out of my mind. Yeah. And so what happened was like, I'm pressing the buttons and I'm starting to fuck up and I'm starting to sweat and I'm starting to like wig out. And I was just like, I shouted full voice in front of other customers, like a line of customers out the door. I was like, Cesario, I have to pee. and then I went back to the back room and I was like, breathing. And then I got talked to about it. He was like, listen, you can't do that. and I was just like, well, I just okay, and so
you're like, but I had to pee.
Yeah, I had to pee. No, he knew what it was, right? And so I got talked to. I lasted like another week after that, and I just like called in. I was like, listen, I gotta quit.
Yeah, you like called in. You were like, look, I gotta pee all day today, so I can't come
I got so much pee, dude. Sorry, you're just not gonna believe it. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of like was like, nah, not my thing.
Well, how did things go at the fryer? I mean,
okay, that was interesting. I only did it once, and it was during the training session because, like, obviously they put me on the register. You know what I mean?
So wait, was there a plan to put you on register the whole time?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I was less of like a hard worker and more of like a talker, and so like they, you know what I mean? They knew that. And like, and Cesario was like, "We're gonna put you here," and so yeah, if I had like more of an emotional sturdiness or like an endurance for like the rush at that age, I think I would have lasted and risen to the top.
Or if they had like trained you longer.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So instead of like a week and a half or whatever, 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's first time on the register ever in your whole life.
Right.
Yeah, it is weird that they would like throw you out there. rush aside, customer sides, like poise aside, that they would just be like, yeah, we're cool with you handling all the money.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, 15-year-old kid, you want to handle all the money that comes in? Like,
yeah, I don't know. It was a quick paced thing.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I definitely looking back, I'm like, wow. Like, yeah.
I think that's something that's very easy to forget about like fast food jobs on the whole, is that because we kind of like, you know, it's popular to just kind of like shit on them, just to be like, oh, those are like base level, like loser kid jobs or whatever. And we forget that they are fucking impossible to do sometimes. They're so really goddamn hard to do.
But I totally bitched out. Like I really,
yeah, no, that's clear. I don't debating that.
And I didn't get another job until I moved to Stockton, and I worked at a seasonal employee at a GameStop.
Tight. Yeah. I think that's when we became friends, is when you were working, not because of the GameStop. It was just like another thing, but yeah.
I was working at GameStop while we were friends. I started GameStop 2004, seasonal employee. They kept me on, and then I stayed with the company like off and on for like 3 years. And then there was a GameStop, but at that time it was called Software, Etc. It was in the mall. And I went to that location, and my boss, Jojo, and a bunch of other people, they would all smoke weed and hang out and dick around. And it was just like, it's like GameStop is like a collective of really intelligent people who are underachievers. Like they're afraid of success, or they're afraid of failure, and they all go
afraid of girls.
Yeah, they're afraid of girls unless they're lesbians. And it's one of those things where like, you hang out with them long enough and you're like, oh, you're really just like undershooting the bar here, aren't you?
So quick question. You say seasonal. I assume you mean like summer?
No.
What
Christmas.
season?
Christmas, dude. Oh,
fuck, dude. He worked every Christmas at game. Oh, you know what I do? I'm gonna work at GameStop, but I'm gonna work there at the only time it's the worst place to work.
Exactly. Exactly. So I did that for 2 years, and then they were like, hey, we'll take you on as a full time. And so I ended up working there. One of my managers was stealing money the entire time that I worked there.
Yeah. That's a very common thing we run into on this podcast.
Managers, always managers.
They're always stealing money.
I was blown away because he was so stickler, like by the book.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I was blown away that it was him.
How did you find out about him?
After the fact, I moved. This was at the one that was on March Lane, like in a different area. In like a strip mall, and then I went to the actual mall, and we heard through the grapevine that manager who became the GM of that store had been stealing the whole fucking time for like 5 years.
Yes.
And I was like,
manager.
Fuck.
So the guy getting paid the most in the store.
Yeah, the SWAT team. SWAT team broke into his house and found just like copies of Halo 2 all over the place.
So many
like, this
copies.
Son of a bitch.
An unreasonable amount.
This guy doesn't even have an Xbox.
Was he stealing money from the register? Or was he like selling games? Or do you know?
I'm not entirely sure how the fraud went down, but I think that in his returns, he would return as new, but they were used copies, and he'd pocket the cash, and they'd have a used copy on hand when it came to inventory. And so he could, when it came to the returns, there's a stop loss for every single store, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a certain amount, we're just like, it's an acceptable amount to have stolen or lost.
Correct.
And he'd walk right up to the line and just under it every single time.
Yeah.
Got it. He had a system.
Yep.
A game, if you will.
Yeah, right.
That game's done.
Okay. So those are your first two jobs. What would you say, Chris, is the worst job you ever had?
Labor wise or emotionally?
Wherever that lands for you. Like what comes to mind?
I'd say the job where sorry, my dog's trying to come in.
That killer dog is back.
Back from the dead.
No, I'd say I used to foreclose on houses.
Oh shit!
And sell them at the courthouse.
Right.
Yeah, we're friends during that too, man. You were a lot happier at GameStop.
Yeah, dude. There's some shit that went down with that one. How
does that work?
Okay, so the system is as follows: you have to default for more than 3 months on your mortgage payment. Mm-hmm. If you default for more than 3 months on your mortgage payment, they give you a warning. It's called a notice of default or an NOD. At that point, the forecloser or the poster, me, would go with the camera and all of these paperwork, the stack of paperwork. You'd get a notice of default notice taped to your front door, and I had to tape it to the front door or hand it to the person. Then you take a picture of the house and you write about the condition of the house. Is the roof new? Does it look like it's vacant? How's the lawn? How's the front door? What color is everything? What are the condition of the cars that are parked out front? Are there cars parked out front? There's like 13 criteria that I had to write down about the house. And then I would write it on the main page, and I'd post the other section of the paragraph with a couple of different language clarifiers on there. There were like 15 languages, so there's no reason you can say like, oh, I didn't understand it.
Right.
No, like they covered their bases.
So, before we get further into this process, who are you working for?
A private company that
contracted by the banks or something.
Yeah, what they do is they buy the contract from the bank.
Right.
And then they would foreclose on the house themselves and then resell it.
Got it. So continue the process. You drop off these things, you take the notes. What happens after that?
Okay. So after I post an NOD, you have another like 3 to 5 months before you're like fucked. And then they put a notice of trustee sale. At that point, you're done. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, vacate the house or we will vacate you.
Right.
And we're going to sell your house on this date at this location.
Uh-huh.
And Yeah.
They're selling it
our
at the
house, and we're going to sell it for money to the highest bidder. And then I would go and I would be at the court steps downtown Stockton, calling out the numbers.
So your job was to do the initial report and then sell shit at the courthouse.
Yep, I did NODs, notice of trustee sales, and
you did all of this.
Yeah, and then I sold the houses at the courthouse. And here's where it gets really corrupt. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's already really fucked up, right? Mm. And this was in 2007, 2008 in the housing market.
Just about to ask,
bro. So I made $27,000 in 2 months.
Oh my fucking god!
I got $40 a posting. And I would be doing sometimes 25 of them a day. God
damn.
I mean, real quick, that's pretty tight, but yeah, that's crazy.
Well, you see why I had the job?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Like the part of you that the utilitarian part of you is like, oh, I don't want to fuck people up, but they're gonna get fucked up anyway.
Well, and also that era, I mean, you know, we're about to enter into it again in some way, but like that era, what choices do you have for employment at that time?
Right.
Like, that's the other.
And this was amazing. Like I was able to, my parents were like, I need this done at the house. I need this done. I'm like, it's done. Here you go. You know what I mean? Like I bought conga drums. I don't even play conga drums. I still have them. Like, I like, you know what I mean? Like stupid shit when you get a lot of money, if you don't have responsible.
Well, especially at that time you were young too.
Yeah, and I was a fucking kid. I was partying like a rock star. Like I used to throw parties at my house and just stock the fridge with beer and liquor and all sorts of shit. I had a karaoke machine and torches in my backyard and my spa. and like Nick was there for this shit. It was a
good time. It was a good time. It was blood money, but it was a good time.
Yeah, dude, it was fucked up. But like, okay, so I had like cigarette like cases, and I would pre-roll joints. I just buy a shit ton of weed and I pre-roll joints and put them in cigarette cases and pass them out as party favors to anybody who wanted them. You can take two, please take 3. Like I was loaded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like, there was this guy, Rick, that worked at the court, who didn't work at the courthouse. He was one of these fuckers who buys like 10 houses a day.
Mm-hmm. God
damn. And then fixes them up and flips them.
Yeah.
So this guy would find me early. He'd wait in the parking lot. And the other fucking idiots would stand around at the courthouse waiting for me to get to my spot. He'd wait for me in the parking lot. And he'd be like, here's $300 to start the auction early.
Right.
I'm supposed to do it at 12 and 12:15. And then another one at 12:30 and another one at 12:45.
So then you would do it at 11:58 or something? What do you mean? Or what does he mean by early?
That's what's up.
He's like 10 a.m.
No. I would do it 5 or 6 minutes. He would glance at my paperwork and then he'd be like, oh, that one. And I'd be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna announce it. and I would write down that I announced it at 12.
Right.
And the fucked up thing is my boss showed me that Rick was going to do that.
Oh, your boss was training you. He was like, hey, this is Rick. He cheats all the time. You're going to want to work with him.
Yeah. And Rick would just kick me down hundo bills. Like, he'd be like, here's 3, here's 2, here's 1 today. And like, and it's just like, I was making so much money hand over fist, right?
Yes.
And then one day, this is the day I quit my job. One day.
Oh, well, we're getting pretty far down here. We haven't even found out how you started.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's like, how did you even find out that this was a job? And then how did you, I mean, literally, how did you start?
Sure. Okay, so my next door neighbors, they're Mormon. I
love the way this story starts.
My next door neighbors are Mormon. Well, they were. They moved to Utah. Big surprise. So we used to play hockey in the street, this kid Jeff and I. And we used to make movies and dick around. You know, when you're a kid, you do the jackass thing. You build, you know, you're a little boy.
Oh yeah.
Familiar. So I hung out with this guy and we played video games. He wasn't allowed to watch R-rated movies or drink caffeine or anything like that. So he's like holistic. Like he is a hardcore Mormon. His family's hardcore Mormon, but nicest people. They'll give you the shirt off their back.
Sure.
Like the brother-in-law of one of the sisters, Jana. His name's Brian. This fuckhead, and I hope he fucking watches this someday.
Oh, he will. He will.
Oh, yeah.
No, this
Brian watches a lot.
Fucking winner. No, this guy's a weird, like, he's a little off, right? So, Brian, well, okay.
No, go on.
Okay, yeah. Brian, he knew about all the corrupt bullshit with Rick and all this other stuff, and he was like, yeah, dude, it's a way to make extra money. Dude, take it. And so I was like, okay, great. It didn't I wrote it off, right? Like I wrote this part off. This is one of those things that I regret about my character. I wrote it off of that I was selling these people's houses.
Sure.
In one of the hardest times in our country since the Depression.
Sure.
And so the way I wrote it off was that they had close to like 7 or 8 months to pay their mortgage and they hadn't.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, 7 or 8 months. At what time do you not take the job at McDonald's?
Right.
You know, at what time do you not take like the job bagging at Winco?
Right. This is your justification at the time.
That was my justification.
Yeah, because like, bagging job is going to pay a mortgage to a house.
No, but I mean, like, you downsize, you get rid of the house, you downsize, you move into an apartment.
Right, they should sell the house, yes.
Right, and or you know, let it bankrupt, and fucking let the state take it or the banks take it, and just move on with your life, which I'm sure much of this was.
The point was they sold you on the idea, and then you sold yourself on the idea that these people had a means to get out and just chose not to for a long time. So that's why you were like...
Right. They led me to believe, and I bought in because the money was so good.
Mm-hmm.
I bought into, like, oh, they could have done something about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or that the people who couldn't do something about it, the list was actually really small. Out of all of these people who were getting closed up.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
smoked one of your like rolled cigarette case joints.
Yeah, and just fucking so I would drive around to different neighborhoods. I would sometimes have to hand the NODs or the notice of trustee sales to the person who was out front.
Of course.
Because I had a time regiment for the day. Mm-hmm. And like I would drive all over town, sometimes 25 minutes to get to a place that I needed to do a posting on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would I'd be like, well, this is way the fuck out of the way and bump up nowhere. I have to post it. And they're out front watering their lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we are at the story that made me quit. Are you cool?
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. So there was this house in this really, really terrible part of town. And so I'm sitting out front of this lady's house, and she's out there with these fucked up Tyco trucks and cars that kids can play on, you know, and the orange and yellow ones, you know what I'm talking about? And then there was a green one with the dump truck section. Mm. Yeah. And so the kids are playing, and she's like spraying them with the hose, and they're laughing.
Fuck, dude.
And I have to go post this on her door.
Yeah.
And if I don't post it on her door, I have to hand it to her and take a picture of her holding it.
Oh, fuck.
And so I get out of my car and I have the NOD, and she's Hispanic. I can tell she doesn't speak much of any English. And I walk up and I hand her the notice of default. She stares at me like, what the fuck are you trying to hand me here?
Right.
And she finally reaches out and takes it. And right there in Spanish, she sees what it is, and like she dies inside. Like I watch her just go into herself, and she just starts weeping and falls to the ground, and these kids run up and they're like, mama, mama, what's the matter? And I find out because her husband comes to the selling of it like 3 or 4 months later. I find out he had been keeping it a secret that he wasn't paying the mortgage. She didn't know. She found out when I handed her the paper.
Oh shit.
It was 3 months later. This is the reason I quit my job, though. Was on this day that I found out.
So you're doing the cells at the courthouse, and that guy shows up? Like, how did you find out?
Well, because it was the same house address.
Oh, you went back.
No. I know the house addresses. I have them, and I keep a logbook because I have to turn in my logbook to get my money.
But what I'm saying is, how did you find out that she didn't know and he did? You know,
because he told me.
Oh, he was at the sale,
trying to buy his house back.
Right.
And I sat there and I was like, fuck, because when I saw that happen, I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. I'm out. And I got in my car and I left. And I took a picture of her real quick and fucking left.
Yeah.
And I felt so gross. And then I was like, okay, I'll wait. And it picked back up, and I was getting more money, And then I reached the point where like their house came up for trustee sale, like they were selling it, and I was the one who was auctioning it.
Right.
Rick was there, fucking a couple of the other regulars were there, and then this guy comes up, and I'm like, and he's just like, do you have this address? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, that's my home. And I was like, and he's just like, yeah, I haven't been making the payments. You handed it to my wife. She didn't know, and I've been trying to come up with the money and this and that. And like he came out with this long story.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yo, fuck this job.
Yeah.
Yo, fuck this place.
And then that house did sell to Rick, right? I mean,
no, I don't know who the fuck took it. I don't remember. So they didn't get it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody else got it.
So then what did you that day? Did you quit, or did you
I called Brian. I was like, listen, I'm gonna hand you back the rest of my stack. I don't want any more of this.
Right. What did he say?
He's like, okay.
Yeah, he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Did you have other coworkers aside from this Brian guy? Like, were there other people who were doing the same thing you were for Brian?
For a while, Jeff did it, but he left.
Yeah.
I did it. I think there was a girl that did it after a while. I don't know. We were all solo, right?
Right. You're just by yourself all fucking day.
Yeah, eating out of taco trucks because you're on the move.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd pull like 8 or 9 hour days, just like $40 a posting, driving around.
That sucks ass.
Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah, it's one of those times where I'm like, oh man, I made all that money, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I do know. Yeah, I do know. Yeah. All right. Well, we always close the pod with 3 questions. The first one is almost definitely answered. The first question is, when were you done and how did you quit? We know all of that now.
Yeah.
Question number 2 is, what's one good thing you took from that very bad job?
I think that's when I started to negotiate the boundary of looking outside myself as an adult. Yeah, I had to have a couple of more jobs before I really picked that up. But I think that's the one that like opened the door.
I feel like I know what you mean, but what do you mean by negotiating the boundary of like, well, talk to me more about like what that means.
Sure. I mean, I'm an only child.
Yeah.
And so inherently only children, they don't learn about the other until they're older.
Yeah.
Because they don't have siblings that like also have needs.
Yeah, you're right.
So their parents, they get spoiled with toys and they get spoiled with devoted energy.
Sure.
And so they don't have to learn about sacrifice and giving to the other until much later in life, and some never do.
Right, yeah.
And so learning about the other is a journey that either happens with like narcissistic people or kids that didn't have any siblings.
Right. Yeah.
And so like that's what I mean, is like negotiating the boundary of looking at another person's perspective.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Took a couple extreme examples, but
yeah.
I mean, but to be fair, in kiddom, it also takes extreme examples. Of like they're just not we don't treat them as extreme because they're kid stuff. But like you punch someone else, you punch a sibling, and then you have to like be around them while they're crying from you almost breaking their leg or whatever. Like those are extreme examples. It's just that the consequences. Well, we're both 8, so like
ownership of it, right? Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So then, final question, not about the bad job, is you do a fair bit of acting. If you had to give up on, well, I mean, who's doing anything now? But you know what I mean. If you had to give up on your dream and you had to pick up like a new job or a new dream or a new direction, what might that be? Okay.
One of 3 things: manipulating finance. And the stock market.
Yeah, you clearly have a gift.
House restoration and flipping.
Okay,
real estate.
Yeah.
Singing, beatboxing, musicianship.
All right. Well, let's focus on this house flipping. So just because it's so close to the bad job, and well, again, the finance thing too, but it's so close to the bad job, but you're like, basically your point of view, because you are quite a handyman. We weren't recording, but we were talking, you build a lot of shit.
Yeah, I was a house
Your
painter
idea
for
would be like, I'm just doing it. I'm not trying to steal anybody's houses. I'm buying it at fair prices, improving and selling them at fair prices.
Yeah. I would wait till the market was a buyer's market.
Sure.
I'd put down loans or take out loans on new houses, put down a down payment to try and lower my monthly interest rate. I would take the house that I already have paid off and I would rent it out. I would stay in the cheapest, shittiest apartment that I possibly could. Or maybe live in the new shitty house for a temporary period of time.
People do that.
Probably be more effective. And then I would take the rent outside of the taxes for the property that I'm renting out and apply it to the new house, as well as my job applying it to the new house. And then when that one was paid off, I'd rent that out, and then I'd have 2 paying into a third and 3 paying into a fourth. And I'd fix it all up myself. When I was a house painter, this guy trained me in like basic plumbing, basic electrical, basic construction, and then obviously painting. And so like I have a skill set now that I didn't have like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I can save thousands of dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would plan on doing this by yourself?
No, here's the
hire
thing. My buddy Cliff and I, this guy is smart. Like IQ is off the fucking charts. He lives out on a ranch in Galt, and we trade labor. He comes over here and I fix up shit with him at my place here. And then on Mondays and Tuesdays, I go over to his place and we trade labor. And so like, it's just like 2 hands, 2 heads, we're getting jobs done. Yeah.
Well, you seem very well poised to this. Sometimes you talk to people and they're like, I just want to go in the woods somewhere. And you're like, actually, I have a 10-point plan and I'm ready to enact it at any moment.
Well, if I came into a lot of capital.
Well, Chris, where can people find you on the internet if you'd like to be found?
I'm not in there.
Well, fuck it then.
You want to get right into this old letter from?
Oh boy,
we should
Jordan.
give it a go. Here's the thing: we have 2 because this is how lazy we are.
Yeah, we have 2 updates from Jordan.
Yeah, and I think we should just take care of them all right now.
Let's do it. Let's knock it out.
So we have 2 phases of write-ins from #JordanLives, and boy, are we glad that he's still living.
Yeah.
So
really excited to hear from you, Jordan.
Yeah, we really are. And by the way, if anybody else wants to text and find out if you're living or dead, 4070 bad jobs is the text number.
Last I remember, if I remember,
good recap here.
Yeah, like Jordan was saying that he was okay, but coronavirus was closing in. I do remember thinking like, oh, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he for sure did say that. Yeah. So next text, and again, I apologize, Jordan. There was just a couple things that happened with our scheduling that we didn't actually get to record these. Namely, we finish an episode, Nick and I go about our day, and then we're like, oh fuck, we have a write-in. So we're doing this before an episode now. That's the priority level that we treat our write-ins.
Before anything else, Jordan.
Yep. Okay. So this is end of May. Well, Chase, it would be an understatement to say a lot has happened in these past 14 days.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Jordan. I've been keeping up with you.
Yeah. As far as work
currently
goes,
writing this with my last 2 fingers.
2 fingers. Oh, COVID takes fingers, and so does the next phase of the civil rights movement. Okay. As far as work goes, we got a new hire because if you remember, there was a previous hire that their partner tested positive for COVID.
Yes.
As far as work goes, we got a new hire that hasn't been showing signs of COVID, so that's good. Oh, and also as a reminder, Jordan is working in a lab that's testing coronavirus samples. So as far as we got like grocery store worker and Jordan is like, you know what I mean? Like, I would say grocery store workers lower than this lab, but maybe they're
I remember with Jordan, it came out, it was like, it's like Jordan's job is to test the effects of coronavirus on Jordan. It was like a job that sounded super like, oh man, you're going to get it.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't sound great. Okay. Here's some good news though. As a thank you from the president of the company, he gave everyone working since March a bonus, $700.
Hell yeah. I'll take it.
I mean, hazard pay, dude.
Absolutely.
It was on a separate check and got taxed as such, so it ended up being like $400 something instead.
Oh, okay.
Upside down smiley face.
Right
and that is how bonuses work. If you're, if you are more of a W-2 employee, which is the majority of employment when you have like a job, it's W-2. But if you do get a bonus, it is taxed as if it, say like similar to like a 1099 employee. So 30% just comes right off the top. They really gut the fuck out of that. So it's sort of like a, hey, good for you. And also, hey, fuck you. And then he said again, because this is end of May, early June process, and this could be true right now. I hope it's true right now as well. Protests are happening here as they are everywhere else. Dallas PD is being super shitty, but that's nothing new. Not surprised by that either. Hope you two are staying safe out there. Fuck this place and fuck these cops. That's update number 1.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's just get into the other one because I'm scared if I say something it's going to be like immediately shot down by whatever he says first in the next one.
Okay, so update number 2, and this came in like this week. Hello, Chase. Hope you're doing well. We lost a couple more coworkers to quarantine.
God damn.
Meaning they or someone they know tested positive for coronavirus. One tested positive, and another's partner was in close contact with someone, so they are out. I think you said but out until they get tested. My work isn't testing us unless they have a reason to. They're cheapo bastards. So clarifying what we asked on the write-in, which is, you're a testing site, can't you do it? But it is, I will say, not in Jordan's employer's defense at all. Not going to do that on this podcast, but I will say that it is expensive to test people a lot for coronavirus. Like I found out recently that like, and maybe Jordan can speak to this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that there's like specific fluids you have to test it in, and to like either make or buy that fluid, it's not cheap. Like, it's not like you just like, it's not like a pregnancy test, you know what I mean? Which is what we want coronavirus test to eventually be like.
Yeah.
But
Just
it's not
pee.
just
A lot of pee. Yeah.
yeah, well, we want pee everywhere if
A
possible.
lot of pee with our tests for coronavirus. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, it's like, you know, you only have so much fluid per month or week or whatever, blah, blah, blah. A big thing that happened this week is that my boss fired her boss. Interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wait, that was an option this whole time?
I mean, Jordan had no idea as well. He said, I had no idea that was possible, so I might fuck around and pink slip a boss or two.
That's, man, I think if I had known that, I probably wouldn't have this podcast right now because I would have fired a lot of my bosses that drove me to this podcast.
You're just firing everybody. This is the ladder.
I worked for my dad at one point. I would have fired him.
I am very curious as to how that went down. I'm guessing that maybe this boss was caught for something, you know, or maybe you can go over. Maybe they went over and they were just like, you're the firer. Why don't you fire this person in between me and you?
Oh yeah, it could be. I was thinking more of like a reverse like Uno situation where it was like, just handed the card right back. You are fired, sir.
Yeah, the draw 2 comes out.
Yeah.
Oh man, or the wild card draw 4, which is really truly brutal. Then he says, I read a headline recently that said Dallas is the biggest COVID city in Texas. Wouldn't be surprised by that information. In spite of this, more and more businesses are opening up. Very scary. Yeah, for sure. I'm staying in good health, though, in complete defiance of everyone.
Attaboy, that's what I like to hear.
I was going to say, that's why Jordan's a fan of this podcast, because complete defiance of everyone is one of the major premises, I would say, of this broadcast.
Yeah, I love that. I love staying healthy as a fuck you. Awesome. Awesome.
Correct.
Jordan will never die with that attitude. He will I've known enough spiteful old ladies to know that he will never die. With that attitude.
Like smokers, you know, or tobacco chewers.
Just like coughing into their like coin buckets in Vegas or whatever, you know, just never dying.
Yes. Coughing into their coin buckets. Yeah. And, a little reflection here, Jordan, LA is in a very similar situation that, really the West and in general, of the U.S., West and Southwest, I guess, are experiencing increased COVID cases, and that's exactly what's happening here in L.A. The mayor, I don't know if I'm sure you've seen it on Twitter, Nick, where like there's just screenshots. People just like the mayor will say like everybody really should be careful, and then they just share a different screenshot of the mayor saying like, well, restaurants are open, so head on out there, have a little fun. Why don't you? Yeah,
I feel like the mayor is constant. Like there's just two people on either side of the mayor just shoving him back and forth in one direction. He's just like yes, no, yes, no. And so he's just constantly got someone calling him a pussy. And he just caves every single time.
Then there's one final text from Jordan. It says, completely unrelated, but my girlfriend says you have a nice voice and should get into voice acting. I agree. I assume he's talking to me.
Yeah, I think so too. You do.
Keep up the great work, you two. And I'll write in another 2 weeks. And please do, Jordan.
Yes, please keep us updated.
And thanks for the voice acting tips. I consider this podcast my contribution to the voice acting genre. If you're referring to, and I've done some non-scientific exploration on this front, not as far as voice acting goes, but if you're referring to like the slight gravel that's in my voice, I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm not a smoker, because typically smokers are the people who, like, for instance, Will Arnett from Arrested Development and other things. He has that deep kind of like smooth gravel, and it's because he was a smoker. I again have never been a smoker of any real significance, but I do have asthma, and I do use inhalers every day.
Wow, you really backed off the cool factor there, Chase. You're like,
100%.
I'm not a smoker, but I do have asthma.
No, I'm not. That's what I'm saying. Like that like gravelly cool, I'm pretty sure comes from like steady doses of albuterol, because I'm pretty sure it's like a very, very fine mist and a dust. And I remember as a kid when I started inhaling these asthma inhalers, they tasted awful. I don't taste them anymore, and I'm pretty sure it's just like sort of burned the inside of my throat. Anyway, so like again, a very uncool reason why my voice might have a kind of
Hey, silver linings though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Damaged lungs, cool voice.
Thank you, asthma. Well, yeah. Again, thanks so much, Jordan, for writing in.
I kind of understand now about like the idea of bonuses, because like a big criticism I've always had is like, instead of giving out bonuses, I've had jobs that just like take us out for like Korean barbecue instead. But now I'm just kind of like, well, if I'm gonna get taxed that much, I'll just have Korean barbecue maybe.
yeah, but just to clarify the difference in cost to your boss for the Korean barbecue. It's probably $25 a pop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, I didn't know that you got taxed, that like the taxing would be that hard. Just to show, I've never been given a bonus. So
yeah, I've only gotten I guess a couple bonuses for working at one company. It was a tour company, and I was the manager of that tour company. It was the first and I think only time, but like, I got like a Christmas bonus or whatever. And it was like, oh, I'm going to give you, I mean, it's very similar, like $700, $800. And then I got a lot less of that, but
I remember like,
cool.
For Christmas, when I worked at the grocery store, every year they would just do a raffle. And if you got picked out of the raffle, you got to go into a room and pick out like a present that was like already wrapped. And I remember one year I won, and I just won the Family Guy Star Wars DVD parody like collection thing. And I tell you, I did not have a DVD player. just kind of threw it in the garbage as soon as I got walked out.
Oh, for sure. No, fuck that shit. It's so fucking stupid. Come on.
Yeah.
But, we all know that people are awful and terrible. All right. Well, again, thank you, Jordan, very much. If you yourself are listening or watching, if you just happen to be on YouTube, there's like 5 people that watch us on YouTube.
Oh, hell yeah. Shout outs.
What is it? What's up? One of them's me, I think. Just checking to see if the playthrough works.
Oh, what's up, Chase? Shout out to Chase.
470 bad jobs. You can text us that number. And the number, the full number's in the show notes. Blah blah blah. Fuck this place.
Fuck this place.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Don't forget to share the podcast and subscribe. One more shout out to Jordan, #JordanLives for the write-in. And if you want to do it, you know the number, 470 bad jobs. Hope you're doing okay. Life's a nightmare, ain't it? Okay, that's it. Bye for now. Fuck this place.